Hello everyone. So I wanted to do something a little bit different today. I received this vintage tin with Stabilo all pencils in it, and I thought this was a good way to show you my favorite mixed media supply, which is the Stabilo all pencil. So this is vintage, and I originally thought, oh well, I can use the tin to put watercolor pans in because I do like to make my own watercolor tins out of vintage containers, and that was my original plan. But then when I saw what good shape the actual Stabilo all pencils are in, I might just leave them in here because it's such a sweet little package. So Stabilo all pencils, if you don't know, I'm just going to pull this one out, which I believe is the black. Yes, this actually it doesn't say on there, but it looks like the black, but they come in a variety of colors. But the black one is the most common. The current labeling on these looks a little different because these are vintage. I think they're from the 1950s. I believe, yeah, because 1955, so that's when this came out. They apparently were incorporated in 1855, and then they were issuing this in 1955. So that's where these are from. And I got these off of eBay, I believe. They were super inexpensive, so I just went ahead and got them because it was actually probably the same price that I would have paid for all of these Stabilo pencils on their own today for new pencils. Now, I haven't tried these out yet, so I don't know if their age will affect how they work, but we'll see. But let me start again. So these are for paper, glass, plastic, metal, so you can write on all of those surfaces. But really what a lot of mixed media artists are doing with it is sort of using it as almost like a watercolor tool. It's like a watercolor pencil almost. And you could just use it as is without water, but in order to really get its full effect, water is really useful. So what I've done is I've gotten out a little paintbrush to try and test this out. And I also have a glass of water here. This little paintbrush is one that I just got really super cheap off of Amazon. It came 4 in a package of these, and they're a 1/4 inch dagger by Royal and Langnickel, I think that's how you say it. And it's called the Mini Majestic. So these were used in a creative bug class that I was watching recently, and I looked them up on Amazon, and then since they were so cheap, I just decided to get them and try them. So I've only used this one a little bit, and but I figured this would be good for this, which is just essentially putting water on pencils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out each of the colors. So I believe that's black. This might be black as well. There's also a blue. Yeah, these are black because I thought that this one might be blue, but no, I think that's black. So there's a black, a blue, a red. Oh no, this might actually be, okay, so this isn't red. There's a red one in here, but this is a harder version of the black one. So I'm going to try that one out too. I actually have some of the newer ones in this harder graphite, and it just doesn't flow as well with water. And here is a white one. I do have white paper, so I'm not sure how that will work out here. And then there's yellow. These look like they've been hardly used, strangely enough. Oh no, this is a different, no. For some reason on the back it says Projecto Marker by Swan. That's very interesting. I wonder if, oh, okay, so this is Swan Stabilo. Oh, very interesting. I wonder if they used to be the same company. All right, well, anyway, I digress. Let me get all the colors out, and then we'll try and figure out what's going on here. So here's a red, and I think green. Oh, no, there's a brown, too. There's a brown. I'll put that next to the black. I already have the red, but there is an orange. Oh wow, this is way more colors than I think they still come out with today. Okay, so there we go. That's quite the spread there. And then I have 2 2 more yellows. Whoever this was really liked yellow. I wonder why. I wonder what they're using yellow for. And then there's a red and another black. So I'm just going to close up this tin. And it's a little catchy on the close, but it still seems to work just fine. And what my plan was for this, for watercolors, would be to spray it and seal it so that it would be waterproof. I forget what I got to do that. It's some sort of acrylic spray that will essentially seal it so that it doesn't rust and then make it waterproof. I'll find out what that is and maybe tell you about it later. I actually have another pencil container that I'm planning to make into a watercolor palette, so maybe I'll show you on that one. But for today, like I said, I think I'm going to end up using this as just a storage place for all these pencils. So the paper that I'm using is just a mixed media paper. Oh, it looks like we got a little bit of schmutz there from the paper, or from the pencils. So yeah, this is a Strathmore mixed media paper. And this pad is usually what I use, I have off to the side whenever I'm painting or doing anything with acrylics. And then I will brush off the paint onto this paper if I still have some left on my brush, but I don't want to use it again. And then these pieces of paper I'll just tear out and use as scrap paper, collage materials or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the black. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. And I'm also going to dip the pencil into the water and show you what that looks like. Because basically once you get water on this, it becomes super black. And that's why I think a lot of, you can even see on my hand where I've just wiped it off. I'm going to get a paper towel here to wipe that off. Mostly wipe it off the pencil so that that doesn't seep in there. Okay, so that's the black. Let's do the brown. And I don't think I'm going to dip the others in the watercolor or in the water right away, but as you can see here, if you did that, you could get the water quality just from dipping the pencil. So I'm going to move that water out of the way. Okay, let's go with green, blue, oh, I didn't do this hard one. I'm going to put the hard one down on the bottom so we can test that out. And it may just be a regular pencil. Sometimes they include a regular pencil in sets like this, so we'll see. And this is the red. These seem really smooth, like, you know, I just bought these yesterday. Okay, that one's a little scratchier, but that might be because it was sharpened. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I will, because the white is going to be really hard to discern by itself, I'm just going to mix it with this one that I've already put on here so we can see how they kind of blend together with water. So now I am going to wet my brush here and let's see how this goes. Oh, that's so interesting. I wonder if that is, no, it is water soluble. It just was giving me trouble there for a minute. So with those two together, you can get sort of a gray color. Wow, this is like super thick. It's very interesting. And because I put the water down, you're not getting, because I dipped the pencil in water, you are not getting dilution of that mark completely like you normally would. Because usually with Stabilo pencils, you can really dilute it out. But so here we have sort of a steely gray when we've mixed the white and the black. I'm going to try the hard one down here on the bottom to see if that actually is water soluble. Okay, so it is a little bit, but it's not super water soluble. See, you can actually pull it all the way out. It's not super water soluble like the black one. And this might just be regular graphite, and because of the age, that's what happens in the water. So I'm actually going to save the regular black for last because that one is just so dramatic. So here, let's go with the yellow. And see, this is more of what you'll get it essentially becomes like a watercolor when you wet them out. And this is the orange. That seems to not want to dissolve as much as the yellow, which is interesting. Okay. And this is the red. The red seems to be dissolving really well as well. And this brush doesn't hold a lot of water, so this is the blue. And I really like the modern blue one that I have because it is sort of an indigo color. And I really love indigo, but it's really good if you don't want to use black, but you want to use another dark color. And then this is the green. So it looks like the yellow is actually fading out with water and blending with the water the best. This is the brown. And then here we go with the black, which is super dramatic. I mean, you can see this is why all those mixed media artists love the Stabilo All pencil, because it's almost like you can draw, it's almost like charcoal. That's the texture. Okay. And this is the same one mixed with the white pencil, so you can definitely see you can get a lot of variation. But this is really great for outlining things if you want to add water and sort of have a faded out silhouette on something or something like that. It's also great for just mark making. A lot of times I have used this in mark making, and then I'll go back over with a different color paint, and then it'll kind of mix with the Stabilo All, and it'll darken it up, and it'll kind of flow all over the place depending on how much water I'm using in my acrylic, and it's really, really fun. But I think that's all I wanted to show you today. I mean, I'm actually really impressed that these pencils have held up so well since the 1950s. And I will definitely use these. Kind of how I got... So I think I may have said that I studied in undergrad to become a set designer, and I ended up going a completely different direction and ended up going to law school and becoming a lawyer. But I definitely still have artistic tendencies, and one of the things that got me back into doing art again was my sister-in-law's grandmother was moving out of her home and moving into an assisted living facility. And she moved because she really wanted to downsize and not have to take care of a house and all of that sort of thing. And she was an artist, and she was an artist from, since she was very, very young. So she had amassed this huge collection of art materials and tools and all this kind of stuff. And originally, I had kind of gotten out of art, and my husband still likes to do printmaking. He studied to be a printmaker in undergrad, and we went to the same undergrad. And so he was interested in her printmaking tools, and this all came about because she was like, well, does anybody want all of these art tools, because I'm just not going to be using them. Art supplies, art tools, all kinds of stuff, because I'm not going to be using them. And I've already had someone come in and appraise and sell the good stuff, basically. But you're welcome to have anything you want that's left over. So my husband went over to her house and was like, I'll take whatever you've got, because our art supplies are expensive, for one, and we wouldn't want this to just be thrown out, because that's essentially what was going to happen if somebody didn't take it all. So as a result of that, I have a whole lot of vintage art supplies in our art room, and this really kind of stocked us up and started me off on, oh, well, I really like doing this again. She had all kinds of acrylic paints, and I started painting with the acrylics and going, I really, really like doing this again. So from there, I just started buying all kinds of art supplies of my own, but it was really nice to have some supplies already. I mean, some of the supplies were in rough shape because they were old. They were like from the 50s, like this, but that's the the sort of long story of how I got back into art after many, many years. And vintage art supplies is what got me there. And so now when I see vintage art supplies, I kind of know what's going to be still usable and not. I mean, this I didn't know, but I figured it probably would be because a lot of the vintage charcoal items and that sort of thing that we got from my sister-in-law's grandmother were still completely usable. So I was hoping the same was true of this. But vintage art supplies, you can find them all over. I found them on eBay, obviously, and on Etsy, because there's a lot of vintage sellers on Etsy. So if you're interested in kind of dabbling, you have to know that sometimes it might not turn out the way you expect. Some things might have spoiled over the years, but some things are still usable, and it's nice to go back and see and actually use these materials and not let them go to waste. And I'll definitely be using these Stabilo all pencils because they seem to work just as well as the new ones. So, all right. Well, that's it for today. Hopefully you didn't mind my rambling on at the end. At this point, I will see you next time. Feel free to like and or subscribe and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.